What is next for Dabo's program, Paul?
That's the ultimate question right now, because this does not look like an ascending program, Max. And before I even get too far along, I know Clemson fans are screaming and hollering, saying, hey, we've been to the playoffs every year since 2015. We won 2 national championships against Nick Saban, and we played for the championship 2 years ago, and we were in the semis last year. But the problem for Clemson is their neighborhood. They live in a lousy neighborhood. It's called the ACC. It becomes weaker by the year, and that has always been their path. Beat up on the ACC, play nobody in the conference championship game, and then go to the playoffs and win and survive. But I'm not sure it's going to be very easy for them any longer, Max. The ACC is a little bit better, but Clemson is coming back to the pack. Their offense is a mess. There's no getting around it. Their offensive line is inferior. And when they get beat at the line of scrimmage against a team like NC State, you have to begin to wonder if it isn't over for this run. I think it's a good program. They have facilities that are on par or equal to anyone, but I just don't see this program contending like they have. And yeah, they'll still get good recruits, but will they be able to get the best? I seriously doubt it, the way this program is heading.
Paul, let me ask you this, though. When you talk about, right, the offense, the line, you talk about the recruits, losing Jeff Scott, was it that big of a deal? Because ever since Jeff left, the offense has sputtered along. And then I also look at Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator. His defense is not lights out like it was 6 years ago. Is some of that happening?
I think it is. I think the thing about Jeff is really a very astute point, Keyshawn, because they had co-offensive coordinators, and he went down to South Florida. And I think they're missing him badly. And, you know, sometimes these little things that we don't know about, you've been in that locker room, you understand this better than I do, really do matter. And Venables has been considered the guru of defense for a long time, but sometimes these things get stale. And Dabo Swinney is, to me, more of a CEO coach than an X's and O's coach. He's always had a great staff. He's always kept them together. And now you see one defection. You'll see more probably at the end of this season. And I really do think this program has peaked. And I know that's an opinion, but what else do we have here this morning? But the trajectory is really bad. And you know, I didn't read as much into the Georgia game as maybe I should have. I thought, man, Georgia's a power team. Clemson is a power team. One bad play by GJ and it was over. But the signs have been there. They barely beat Georgia Tech. They didn't beat NC State. They'll lose another game or two. And that just doesn't work at Clemson. Clemson has lived and feasted off of 2 wins over Nick Saban to help build this program up. But remember one thing, Keyshawn. In 2014, Steve Spurrier's next to the last year at South Carolina, he was shooting for 6 straight over Clemson. That's how different it was, and it wasn't that long ago. And I'm not suggesting Clemson goes back to that point in time, but I also think they're going to drift back and forth, and I don't see Clemson winning another national championship.
Both Clemson and Ohio State looking on the outside of the college football playoffs. What does the playoff picture look like now? Is it wide open outside of maybe like Alabama? We just saw what Texas A&M took one on the chin against Arkansas as they were looking ahead to Alabama.
Keyshawn, it's as wide open as it has ever been, and that's what I say is it started in 2014, so we're not talking about 50 or 100 years here. I think if you look at it, and this weekend will help separate because both Alabama and Georgia have critical games. Georgia against Arkansas at home, Alabama against Ole Miss. If both win, then I think we're looking at a collision in the SEC title game. Georgia still has to deal with Florida, which is very good. But you could conceivably have 2 undefeated teams playing there, and the loser still being in the playoffs. If that happens, and I think right now that would be likely, then where do you go for the next team? I think Oregon is probably the next best team, and then I think it's wide open. The Big Ten is the most intriguing league right now because we have no earthly idea what's going on. Don't write Ohio State off completely because Penn State is ranked high, but they don't really look like a national championship team. Iowa will get Penn State in a week. There's Michigan, which is a mystery. I mean, they're undefeated, but they're still a mystery. Michigan State's out there. So the Big Ten has probably the largest number of contingency of competitors. And then I mean, could someone else sneak in there? I don't know. But and there's Oklahoma, Keyshawn, which we all thought had the best quarterback in the country, Spencer Rattler, and he has really had a miserable year.
Yeah.
Paul Finebaum, the host of the Paul Finebaum Show, joining us here on Keyshawn JWill and Max. Paul, since you said it's so wide open right now, where do you stand on the CFP expansion talk?
Well, that's probably the most disappointing part of college football right now, Jay, because in 3 months ago, it looked, I would say, at a 99% possibility that we were going to see a 12-team expansion and possibly even see it in 2 seasons. That's all fallen apart now. The politics of college football has reared its ugly head. The Rose Bowl does not want to let go of its esteemed 4:30 Eastern time start, so you can see the San Gabriel Mountains in the background, and we all glow over how important that game is, as if that's the most important game in college football. Meanwhile, the Texas-Oklahoma defection, Big 12 to SEC, rattled a lot of cages, and right now I don't think we're going to see that in the near future. The contract still has 4 more years. Nobody wants to give ESPN, who owns the contract right now, any more power than they already have. So I think we're going to drag on with that, and I think college football will be the loser, because even though this year is an outlier, most years we already know by now who 3 of the 4 teams are, and often all 4.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.